There's prayer, but also lots of singing and dancing. About 20,000 people attend African churches in South London every week, mostly Pentecostal. House of Praise is one of these majority black African churches, and the connection to the continent plays an important part in the community.
It gives you a slice of home. So your parents raise you up in a certain culture, and sometimes you can feel a bit alienated outside or somewhere else, and it just feels like home, really.
And we have a soup kitchen, we go out to feed the homeless, we have a clothes bank as well during this period. So in that sense, it's very important for maybe community members.
Many English churches seem to have a declining congregation. Public theology lecturer David Murr says diaspora churches stand out for several reasons.
First and foremost, the diversity of these churches. I mean, some churches have got 20 people, some have got maybe 6, but of course there are other churches with 600 plus. So the kind of diversity of those churches is one thing. The second thing is that most of these churches are actually keen to get involved in social action, and they tend to do that in terms of things like education and welfare. But I think what I found very interesting in the churches is the way in which they take mission seriously. A lot of these folks feel that God has actually sent them here to evangelize the local population.
There are over 240 African diaspora churches in South London, the largest concentration outside of the continent. But the diaspora and the local English churches are not very integrated yet. At House of Praise, over 80% has African heritage.
We're kind of the seed that was sown by those who brought the gospel earlier on. We're kind of the fruits of those seeds. We're bringing it back and trying to bring Christ back into the center of everything that is done.
Many of the majority black churches do not own traditional church buildings themselves. House of Praise bought a former bingo hall to host its congregation. Others use schools or community centers. Perhaps the lack of space in London might in the future be a factor that will integrate local and diaspora churches. Marta van der Wolf for VOA News, London.
I come to you. I hope you know my heart.
America remains the top destination for international students, but a report by the Institute of International Education says new enrollments are down for a third straight year.
According to the latest Open Doors report, there are 1,095,000 international students in the United States. However, unfortunately, that means that the number of students here is basically flat in the most recent figures, and the new enrollments continue to decline. And that is a deep concern to international educators across the United States.
The State Department acknowledges that the United States is competing with other nations to attract young minds.
We know that international students also have more choices than ever before about where to pursue higher education.
Australia, New Zealand, and Canada have become increasingly popular with foreign students. Canada has increased its international enrollment by 15% by offering smoother pathways to study.
Having these students come to Canada is very much a component of our strategy to attract and retain high-skilled workers in Canada.
Cost is a major factor when international students make their choice, and it's expensive to study in America. The average cost at a 4-year public university is $27,000 for out-of-state tuition each year. At private universities, it's $41,000, according to the U.S. Department of Education.
There are a number of reasons why we see declines in the number of international students coming to the U.S. And I think the first is cost. The cost of higher education in the United States continues to rise, so we need to get that under control.
Experts say international students also face uncertainty over proposed changes in U.S. policies. Optional Practical Training, or OPT, allows graduates to train in the field they studied. That enables them to stay in the U.S. up to 36 months after graduation.
Many international educators think it's extremely important to support things like optional practical training, which is an integrated part of the education students receive in this country.
Declines in the number of students were seen from several countries, including South Korea, Mexico, Japan, Spain, Saudi Arabia, Iran, Turkey, and Kuwait.
The rhetoric around immigrants overall, but particularly those coming from the Muslim countries, has hardened.
It's really exciting to see just the contribution that international students and scholars have made around the United States, whether it's through research or other means. But I've found, in addition, that in my career, both when I served in government and when I've been a professor, that I've found that being able to having partners who've actually studied in the United States is a real benefit. We'll find that we actually have many things in common, maybe experiences in common.
For Sahar Majid, Kathleen Struck, VOA News, Washington.